Our call to worship this morning comes from Joshua chapter 1 and verses 2 to 9. And it says, "Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, and you and all this people, into the land that I am giving them, to the people of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you, just as I promised Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites to the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your territory. No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. Just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you or forsake you. Be strong and courageous, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land that I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law that Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it from the right hand or to the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go."
I love to tell the story of unseen things above, of Jesus and his glory, of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story because I know it is true. It satisfies my longings as nothing else can do. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme in glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story, tis pleasant to repeat what seems each time I tell it more wonderfully sweet. I love to tell the story, though some have never heard the message of salvation from God's unholy word. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme in glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story for those who know it best. Seem hungry and thirsty to hear it like the rest. And when it sings of glory, I sing the new song. 'Twill be the old story that I have loved so long. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme in glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. To tell the old story of Jesus and his much love.
Lord, we have come to worship you this morning. Wherever we are, we offer ourselves to you. Be with us. Help us to focus on you and not what can distract us. Also, Lord, we ask that you will show us something today, something of who you are and something for our relationship to you. Help us to draw close to you in this time. Amen.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of
Joshua chapter 24, verses 14 to 29. Therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods of your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorite in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Then the people answered, "Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For it is the Lord our God who brought us and our fathers up from the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, and who did those great signs in our sight and preserved us in all the way that we went, and among all of the peoples throughout we passed. And the Lord drove out before us all the peoples, the Amorites who lived in the land. Therefore, we also will serve the Lord, for he is our God." But Joshua said to the people, "You are not able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God and he is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins if you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods. Then he will turn and do you harm and consume you after having done you good." And the people said to Joshua, "No, but we will serve the Lord." Then Joshua said to the people, "You are witnesses against yourself that you have chosen the Lord to serve him." And they said in reply, "We are witnesses." He said, "Then put away the foreign gods that are among you and incline your heart to the Lord, the God of Israel." And the people said to Joshua, "The Lord our God we will serve, and his voice we will obey." So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day, and he put in the place statutes and rules for them at Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and he took a large stone and set it under the terebinth that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said to all the people, "Behold, this stone shall be a witness against you, for it has heard all the words of the Lord that he spoke to us. Therefore it shall be a witness against you, lest you deal falsely with your God." So Joshua sent the people away, every man to his inheritance.
Praises rising, eyes are turning to you. We turn to you. Hope is stirring, hearts are yearning for you. We long for you. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. And in your presence, all our fears are washed away, washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. find strength to face the day. In your presence, all our fears are washed away, washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus.
Lord, we have come to a place where we petition you. We ask for your help. There are those that we know who are not well. Place your healing processes on them. There are those who are not coping with the stresses of life and the resultant depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. Be close to each one of them. Remind us of your closeness and that you will not leave us or forsake us. There are those who have great news. Experience joy and the answering to prayers. We thank you for your answered prayers and we celebrate your goodness with them. Be with us as individuals. Somehow you know each experience and circumstance that we are going through. The good, the bad, and whatever is in between. Lord, express your closeness and care so that we can draw on you and we can worship you. Thank you for being our God. Amen. So far we have talked about discipleship as following Jesus and as a growing process. And last week we looked about how God resources us. This week I want to look about our commitment to the process. We utilise the term we commit ourselves to Jesus as part of the whole conversion process, or becoming a Christian process. So in many ways, in our thought processes, it's a past event. We have done the commitment thing. The reality is the very concept of the word is an ongoing attempt to focus on Jesus. So when we're committed to Jesus, that means it's a lifelong thing. The dictionary explains it this way. It explains it many ways, but this is one of the ways that it comes out. It says that it is a noun. I'll talk about that in just a moment. And it says that commitment is the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause or an activity. Okay, well, we understand that, don't we? Interesting, I thought that commitment would be a verb. And I asked others, and they also assumed that it would be a verb. But the dictionary says that it's a noun. Does that surprise you? But notice within the description it says it is a state of being dedicated to a cause or activity. So it is in fact a commitment to do stuff. Now, does that mean it is a commitment to a particular or to participate in a verbal action? Well, I'll let those who are into grammar work all of that out. But now it makes sense to me in Christian discipleship as a concept. It is the commitment to do what is necessary to continue the discipleship process. So we first have to ask, as a Christian, what is it we're actually committed to? I want to look at a passage from Joshua. In Joshua 24, which is what was read to us earlier on during the service. And okay, we'll go through it bit by bit, but there is not time to go through verse by verse through the whole thing. So we'll just pick some things out. Feel free to go through the passage with a fine-tooth comb at home if you would like. It says in verse 1, Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and summoned the elders, the heads, the judges, and the officers of Israel. And they presented themselves before God. Well, here it is that the message is for the whole bang lot of them. And they are called together, all the tribes, all the elders, the whole lot of them. And why does it say all the tribes, then specify that the leaders have got to be there too? Well, the assumption is that it called the army back. It called them back from patrol and diplomatic, political stuff as well, so that the whole nation was going to experience this thing. Everyone was involved. In verse 2, it goes on and says, and Joshua said to all the people, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, long ago your fathers lived beyond the Euphrates, Terah, the father of Abraham and of Nahor, and they served other gods." The big thing here is that Joshua says, "Thus says the Lord." This is a message from God. And remember, Joshua has taken over from Moses, and some probably still have questions over his leadership, as there is in any leadership changeover. And he says here, I'm speaking for God. He's also saying, these are God's words, not mine. You can doubt my leadership, but this is God's stuff. Verses 3 to 11, a bit of a reminder of what God has done with them. It's a history lesson and a reminder in that regard. But notice when we get to verse 13, it says this, "I gave you a land on which you had not laboured, and cities that you had not built, and you dwell in them. You eat the fruit of vineyards and olive orchards that you did not plant." God cared so much for these people that he gave them stuff already prepared. Free housing, and I suppose it's a free housing, land and food package. That was pretty cool. Now, I'm not sure that we can take this as an example of what's going to happen to us today. But that is an amazing concept that they walked in and they had everything laid on and provided for them. Now, after this, Joshua starts talking about this commitment thing. He says in verse 14, "Now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods that your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord." It is as if God is saying through Joshua, because I looked after you, now you do your bit of the bargain. What is the part that had to be played? Notice it says there, serve him sincerely and be faithful to him. It's a pretty good deal. You get all of the house and land package and the food package, and you have to serve God faithfully. But he goes on. And he said, "If it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." That last bit's a powerful statement, isn't it? If you don't want to do the commitment thing, you don't have to. Do what you want, but then the deal is off. The relational deal of God looking after us is gone. It's pretty much spelt out, isn't it? And then there's this bit, as I said, "But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Joshua is saying here, it's your call, but I've made my decision, I'm with God. The people react to this, and I suppose their reaction is totally logical. It says in verse 16, "Then the people answered, 'Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods.'" It is kind as if they're saying, we'd be stupid not to take this deal. And when we look at it, we have to say, yep, absolutely. They even recognized what God had done for them. If you read on in verses 17 and 18, it says, "For it is the Lord our God who brought us and our fathers up from the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, and who did great signs in our sight, and preserved us in all the way that we went among the peoples through whom we passed. The Lord drove out before us all the peoples, the Amorites who lived in the land. Therefore, we also will serve the Lord, for he is our God." So they're saying we're in. We will serve the Lord. Now we know that history, that didn't always quite work out. Just read the rest of the Bible. But they're in. Joshua points out some consequences. And it's really quite blunt as we follow this through. In verse 19 he says, "But Joshua said to the people, 'You are not able to serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He's a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, then he will turn and do you harm and consume you after having done good for you.'" Whoa. He's basically saying you break the agreement with God and you have to deal with the consequences. Notice it says God will do you harm. This God that did all the miraculous things and all of the miraculous stuff will actually reverse it to punishment if you do the wrong thing. Okay, the question is, does God still work this way? Will he still do us harm if we turn from him and do the wrong thing? Nah, he'll forgive us. Well, that's what we think. And okay, true, but God is the same yesterday, today and forever. So there is a precedent here of punishment if we choose to go against God. It's a sobering thought process, isn't it? The people then again express their commitment. Joshua said, "You can't do it." And they go, no, we're going to have a go. We're going to have a go. And the people said to Joshua, "No, but we will serve the Lord." We will serve God. We said we will, and we're going to do it. It's commitment. And Joshua says something really interesting. In verse 22, "And Joshua said to the people, 'You are witnesses against yourselves, that you have chosen the Lord to serve him.' And they said, 'We are witnesses.'" You are witnesses, and you are your own witnesses. This is your word. You have chosen to be God's people. And yep, what happens? They agree. Is that where we're at? Have we chosen this process to be God's people? Both individually and as a corporate body of the church as well. Then listen up a little bit more, because there's a little bit more application that goes on the end of it. He says in verse 23, "Then put away the foreign gods that are among you and incline your heart to the Lord, the God of Israel." Interesting. They have committed, but obviously they still have some hangover from before. Joshua says gets rid of the bad stuff. Obviously they've still got some of the gods with them. They shouldn't, but they do. Now this verse wouldn't be included if it wasn't important, wouldn't it? They obviously had foreign gods or idols with them. Even though they already knew the law, Moses had given that to them, but they still had them. Saying a commitment is one thing. Doing it is another. Where do we fit in with this? Are there things that we need to deal with, to get rid of maybe? Think about it. And thinking about it deeply because what the consequences could be are quite deep. Notice the people's reactions in verse 24. And the people said to Joshua, "The Lord our God we will serve, and his voice we will obey." Okay, commitment made. Is that our commitment as well? But the story goes on, because at each point you notice that Joshua has a response for them. In verse 25 he says, "So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day and put in place statutes and rules for them at Shechem." Okay, covenant made, agreement made. They made it official. So official that it was signed and sealed. Look what Joshua does next. Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God. And he took a large stone and set it up there under the terebinth that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. Whoa. He wrote it down. And he put a memorial stone in place to remind them. Wow. He didn't want them to get their commitment, did he? Verse 27 goes on, "And Joshua said to all the people, 'Behold, this stone shall be a witness against us, for it has heard all of the words of the Lord that spoke to us. Therefore it shall be a witness against you, lest you deal falsely with your God.'" Notice that the stone is the witness against them if they do the wrong thing. Every time they saw it, they would have been reminded of their commitment experience. Yeah. So Joshua sent the people away, every man to his own inheritance. So what's happened is they've all made this commitment in one place, and they're taking the commitment home wherever they go. So I want us to do something today. I want us to think about it, even grab a piece of paper and write down our commitment to God. And saying, okay, I am committed to our relationship, God. As a church, we'll be doing that. We did that this morning. Instead of going out the door, we had people come forward and sign a sheet. Now, we've made commitments before. It's just an upgrade. You may think, I don't need to do that. My commitment was made many years ago. Well, the people of Israel had been God's people for 40 years, wandering around in the desert, and still God wanted them to renew their commitment. So I'm asking us to do the same thing. I'm asking us to make a contract with God saying that we are committed. So sign on. Sign on. Come into the church sometime if you get a chance and put your name with the list of other people who have done it this morning. We'll put it up on the wall, perhaps. People on Tuesday, church on Tuesday will do the same thing. But there's something else that's going to happen. We've been able to get a stone, and we're going to put it up next to the driveway. So every time you come to church, you'll see the stone. Next week, we may put that stone, we may put an image of the stone so you know what it looks like online. So that we can be reminded of our relationship and our commitment to our God. It's an incredible thought process, isn't it? And it's amazing how something that was written so many years ago can be so appropriate to us today. Sign on to your commitment to God, and then find ways that you can remember that commitment. Bless you.
You're the Lion of Judah, the Lamb who was slain. You ascended to heaven and evermore will reign. At the end of the age, when the earth you reclaim, you will gather the nations before you. nations who gather before you. And the ears of all men need to hear of the Lamb who was crucified, who descended to hell yet was raised up to reign at his Father's side. And the angels will cry, Hail the Lamb, who was slain for the world, ruling now. And the earth will reply, You shall reign as the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. And the angels will cry, Hail the Lamb, who was slain for the world, ruling now. And the earth will reply, You shall reign as the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords.
Our benediction this morning is just a statement. As we commit ourselves to you this week to be your people and to follow your lead and guidance, help us to be who you call us to be. Help us to be your representatives wherever you place us, and help us to remember all that you have done for us and all that you are doing with us. And now may the grace, mercy and peace of God the Father, Jesus the Son and the Holy Spirit be with each person. Amen.